And we are live. Hey. So, I'm going to read you one out of The Rivals of Frankenstein today. And, this is a quick one. This is The Last of the Daubeny-FitzAlans by Arnold Harvey. I have no biographical information on Arnold Harvey at all, other than this. This was published in 1976. So it may be an original for this one. I'd have to look it up. All right. The Last of the Daubeny-FitzAlans by Arnold Harvey. They were a queer family, the Daubeny-FitzAlans, the vicar mused. Amateur scientists, among other things. They do say that for 3 or 4 generations, father and son and grandson, they were experimenting with the generation of life, trying to discover a means to convert chemical compounds into living creatures. Did they succeed? Of course not. The vicar sniffed contemptuously. There were the usual rumors that they built a strange, man-like creature, but of course there was no truth in it. I can just imagine it, I said, looking across the valley at the gloomy, many-roofed Tudor mansion and trying to shut out of my mind the loud noises of shoveling and banging from the parish church behind us, where they were digging up the floor of the chancel. A long workshop on the first floor, dark paneled walls, test tubes and retorts and homunculi and jars lined up in rows upon the shelves. Homunculi? Queried the vicar. Little man-like creatures. The kind of thing these alchemist fellows try to bring alive. Oh, yes, of course. It's rather odd that the idea should have occurred to you in this context. You see, the Daubeny-FitzAlans were homunculi themselves. I don't mean they were brought to life in their own laboratory, just that smallness ran in the family. They were all pygmies from generation to generation, each generation smaller than the one before, except for the last of them. Sir Forbes Daubeny-FitzAlan, he was a giant. They have some of his dress suits at the county museum. He must have been 7 foot 4 inches at least. He had to import horses from Flanders to ride. The only native horses that could carry his weight were cart horses, which were, of course, totally unsuitable for a man of his birth and wealth. They say the strongest chairs used to break under him, and that when he died, it took 12 men to carry the coffin out of the house. 12? So they say. The vicar pulled a gold watch from his waistcoat. They should have got to his coffin by now, he said, inclining his head toward the church behind us. It was a Norman church. Only one in anything like its original state, county. It was being restored. That's why they were digging up the chancel floor to strengthen the foundations. We moved toward the south porch. The vicar continued with his 200-year-old gossip. Like most country clergymen, he was a devoted student of his parish's history. He was rather a mystery man, Sir Forbes Daubeny-FitzAlan, he said. There was not even any mention of there being a baby at the time of the death of his mother, Lady Amelia Daubeny-FitzAlan. Not that anyone in the village or in any of the neighboring great houses even knew a tenth of what was going on in Daubeny Hall. No one even knew the boy existed until he was already full grown. Incredible, isn't it? He was educated at home, probably by his father or by one of his father's assistants, and never left the neighborhood during his entire life. And he became Justice of the Peace, of course, when his father died and he inherited the baronetcy, but he never served on the bench. None of the family did. Well, what became of him? He died of some perfectly loathsome disease. He must have been about 50. Apparently, he always suffered from some kind of eczema, but it became worse and worse till it seemed his flesh was actually decomposing on him as he walked about his house and grounds. That's why he never married, I suppose. No one would have wanted him, even with his money. And perhaps he wasn't interested either. There was never any local talk of his tampering with the farm girls. We entered the church. At the further end, a number of workmen were grouped under a scaffold. Beside them were several very old coffins. None of them were longer than 5 feet. "This one makes up for all the rest," said the foreman as we approached. We peered over the edge of the dank-smelling hole. The last remaining coffin was over 8 feet long and broad in proportion. A harness had been fastened around it, and they were about to start hoisting it out. There were 6 of them, and there was a complicated pulley system which helped take much of the weight, but even so, it was fully 5 minutes before they had lifted the coffin clear of the hole. It was a good solid job of oak, smeared with cobwebs and mold, but with the silver handles and nameplate still in good condition. "Lord, it's heavy," said the foreman. "Perhaps there's a lead lining," I suggested. I turned to the vicar. "Are you going to open it?" "Certainly not." He seemed almost scandalized by the idea. "We shall remove these coffins to a partially empty tomb in the churchyard for the duration of the restoration work, and then replace them. To do anything else would be most improper." I was about to say, as delicately as I could, that this was a great pity, as I would have dearly liked to have seen a giant's bones, when the harnessing gave way on the massive coffin and it fell to the floor. I don't think the wood was particularly rotten. It must have been the way it fell, with its corners striking the flagstones first. It split right down the whole length, and the bones I'd wanted us to see came tumbling out. They were enormous. They were obviously extremely heavy, too, for they did not clatter and bounce the way dried bones normally do when thrown about, but merely thudded immovably on the flagstones. The other peculiar thing about them was their color. They were almost black. At first, I thought this blackness was caused by the dried and darkened skin having shrunk over the bones, but a second glance told me that they were completely naked, and it was a very distinctive blackish color, more like a very dark green. I think we all realized at about the same time what the dark green color meant. Sir Forbes Daubeny-FitzAlans' bones were solid brass. Thanks for tuning in. And that was Arnold Harvey's The Last of the Daubeny-FitzAlans, out of The Rivals of Frankenstein, edited by Michael Parry. I have no biographical information on Harvey. I would definitely read more by him. That was a fun piece, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.